We're just back from Lisieux. We had a fantastic trip with Father Grant, the General Secretary of the Bishops' Conference of Scotland, where we learned a lot about the life of St Therese. One of the unknown facts about the life of St Therese of Lisieux is that she is in fact a patroness of the missions. And this year is a very, very big year for Missio Scotland and the missions in general, because Pope Francis has dedicated October as an extraordinary mission month. So we're delighted today to be joined by a group and teachers and pupils from St Mungo's Academy, and as well as workers from Missio Scotland, to discuss what Missio and Pontifical Mission Societies do in Africa and other countries. So I'm delighted to welcome here today Christopher Gallagher, who's the Principal Teacher of Maths in St Mungo's Academy, Martin Mann, who used to work in St Mungo's, is now at Missio Scotland as the Education Outreach Officer. We've got Georgia Duffy, who's a pupil at St Mungo's and has been to Zambia. And we also have Lewis O'Neill, who also spent time in Zambia with Missio and is a member of the St Mungo's High School as well. Welcome.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.
Thanks so much. So tell me a wee bit about, Martin, what you're doing just now after leaving St Mungo Secondary School.
Well, I was a secondary school RE teacher in St Mungo's for 6 years, 4 months and 7 days. So they knew no other RE teacher in there except Mrs Butler, who's the principal teacher RE there, and myself. But the Bishops' Conference and Missio came along and offered me a job, and it was the iron was too hot after the missionary experience in Africa, and now I am promoting Missio in primary schools, doing a little bit of work with secondary schools, and also involved a little bit with Glasgow University as well. So it's great fun and it's great work, and really raising a profile of Missio, working with pupils and teachers and providing a wee bit of professional development for staff as well. So I'm also involved in taking 2 school groups from South Lanarkshire Council, Holy Cross High School and St John Ogilvie High School from Hamilton, on a missionary experience this year to Uganda. So there'll be 5 from each school, and we'll be accompanied by a priest, Father Phil Marsh from the Spiritans, and also a religious sister, Sister Stacey Cameron from the Sisters of St Peter Claver. So we're very much looking forward to that. I'm actually away this weekend on a weekend retreat preparation for that missionary trip to Uganda, where we'll experience what the Catholic Church does there as well and all the good work that it's involved in. So very much looking forward to that.
So you yourself, Lewis, were in Africa and Zambia. Can you explain why you went there, why you chose to go there and what you saw?
Yeah, so the opportunity kind of arose to the whole of the year at St Mungo's, and there was a bit of a process to apply to it. I kind of had a gut feeling that I kind of had to apply to it, because it just felt like such a big opportunity not to turn down. So me, alongside, how many people applied to it? 30-ish at the start of the process applied to go on the trip. And then so 5 of us were selected, and the premise of the trip was to go there to be around different groups of young people in different parts of Lusaka in Zambia.
Okay. And how did you find it yourself, Georgia?
I found it amazing, and the fact that it was so inspiring in a way. Like, it was obviously a privilege to be chosen out of the 30 people, and it was just 5 of us to go, but it was the fact that it was like such a great team that went, that we all supported each other when it was a bit tough, or like it was really emotional at points, and we were all just together.
And Chris, were you on the same trip, or was it a separate trip you went to?
No, I was on the same trip. So when I joined St Mungo's, I got quite close to Mr Mann here, and we became pals, and then he spoke about the Zambian project, and I thought that's something I want to get involved in, just helping him with the fundraising initially, and then we thought, well, I asked the head teacher see if I can come along. So that's why I got involved, and it's something I've always wanted to do. I've always thought about going abroad, and when I worked in previous schools, they do classrooms in Malawi sort of idea. It's something I've always been looking at, but it's just something very different that we did.
There's always a question about the themes that come up when you go on a missionary trip. So you're looking at like the universality of the church. Can you maybe touch upon that? What did you feel as a Catholic in Scotland going to another Catholic community at the other side of the world?
Yeah, I think it's all about the values that underpin the church, isn't it? So all the different projects that we visited, and even in the school that we stayed in, you could see the Catholic values underpinned their entire way of life. And I thought that was quite inspiring, to use the word that George used, because it's that idea of coming from a totally different part of the world, but everyone's sort of living under the same values. So loving your neighbour, the values of charity, love and respect, those sort of key values. But I guess the best thing about it was being able to experience that in a different sphere. There's loads of different examples we could go into, but one of the things that we all quite enjoyed was taking part in the Rosary in Zambia, which again was underpinned by the same aspect of the Rosary in Scotland, but
Yeah, that's fine. I can talk about that. So instead of reciting the prayers kind of by rote, as we would traditionally do with decades of the Rosary, they would pray a decade of the Rosary in the traditional way and then sing in a tribal language, and it would be prayer through song, which was fascinating and amazing. And you would have these girls who were resident in the school that we were staying in, who were cared for by the Salesian sisters who were there. So the sisters weren't just responsible for teaching them, they were actually their guardians as well. So the girls stayed in the complex attached to the school, and every evening they would come together to pray the Rosary, and it was really a highlight of our day. We were all looking forward to finishing up dinner and going to the Rosary together, because it was so, you were engrossed in it. It was in African tribal music, African tribal dance. It's just fascinating, and it even rubbed off on us, didn't it? We found ourselves trying to join in in indigenous language. It was great. There is footage of that, but we will not give you that at the present moment in time.
Yeah, so Georgia, you come from a different perspective. You're not a Catholic yourself, and you were obviously still involved in the trip and these events that took place. How has this experience shaped your view of the church?
Well, I never got the whole religion aspect in my school, apart from being in RE, and I knew there was a rosary held, but I never felt through my friend group or anybody that I knew a really strong united religion. And then when I went over to Africa, it was just everybody had the same religion, and they all loved what they done and what they've practiced, and loved coming up with new ideas how to share that religion. And it was just the whole values thing, they all loved each other, they all practiced their faith, they all came together as a community to just do that. And it was, no matter people from Scotland that came, they welcomed you into it and embraced it.
I mean, for me, what's fascinating this last week that I spent in Lisieux is that St Therese of Lisieux is a patron of the missions, but she did not actually go on mission. Hers was very much her perception. She wanted to, but she couldn't do so. But her perception of mission was the spiritual aspect. So when I reflect on you going out, Brian from Sancta Familia went out to Uganda with Missio, and what you see in those videos and from the experiences there is that there's a poverty, certainly, but yet they're rich in their spirituality and their faith, where it seems like we are the reverse in this country. So how has it deepened Lewis, how's it deepened your view of the Catholic faith?
Yeah, well, one of the important aspects that I think kind of shone through for me, we obviously were going with a perspective on education, and the schooling system there was underpinned by faith too, and I was kind of struck by how much faith underpinned their education in terms of their motivation to study. It was total night and day compared to my own experience in Scotland, and just seeing how these young people recognised that they were growing up in a system which was difficult to break out of, but they were so close to their faith that they knew that their path out of there was education. And it was really inspiring to see them have that hope, to use education alongside their faith to try and get out of it. So it was quite sad, but again, as I said, inspiring at the same time.
And do you think, Chris, that the media here in Scotland and the UK in general don't do enough to cover the good works of the church? Obviously there's a lot of negative things, and quite rightly sometimes in the media about things in the church. This is one aspect which the church is doing so much good work, and do you think the media should do more?
Yeah, so it's something we have spoke about as a group, and that I knew of some of the work that the Catholic Church puts out there and how much goes into everywhere across the world, but I had no idea the scale of it in terms of some of the places that we went to. And everywhere we went, it was run by sisters, priests. It was inspiring, and it just shows how that we don't know what's actually going on out there and the great work the Catholic Church is doing.
Talking about orders in general, so many of them, but what kind of orders were there, Martin? What were we seeing out in Zambia?
So we stayed primarily with the Salesian sisters, and they ran a school for girls. Some of the girls, as I had said, were resident and accommodation provided by the sisters as well, but that school was for over 800 children from kindergarten right through to school leavers, who would then go on to Zambia's only university. But there was Sisters of St Charles Borromeo, there was Spirit and Fathers out there. There were a number of missionary orders who were basically holding the education system in Zambia together. And this is a thing that we don't hear via the media in this country. As you said, we rightly hear negative things at times, but we don't hear that if it weren't for the Catholic religious congregations working all over the world, that the education of millions and millions of young people just wouldn't be provided. The Missio works in over 160 countries. We support education in all of those countries, but that's only one of a number of things that we do. But the reality is that if the religious congregations had to stop working in these places, there simply wouldn't be an education system. And Lewis spoke about this concept of hope. It's Catholic values and this emphasis on the holistic development of every single person that makes young people realise their own potential. And it breaks down barriers, not all barriers, but it breaks down enough barriers for young people to fulfil their potential and reach fantastic destinies. And that's done through the hard work of the religious orders out there. And it really is done in an altruistic fashion. So the religious orders, they don't stand to gain anything from being there. It's done because of their own faith. And that's really, really important. And Missio's job is to promote that here and continue to support those religious congregations all over the world. I mean, we were only in one country together, and that was Zambia. Later on this year, I'll be going to Uganda. But we could run off countries from all 5 continents that rely on the religious congregations for the provision of education, for the provision of healthcare, for the provision of a number of different elements that we take for granted in this part of the world. So it's really, really important. I think it made our young people, certainly my former pupils, realise that, you know, the value system and the ambition that underpins Catholic education is something that exists no matter where you are.
And Georgia, how did it, reflected back on your trip, how did it change you as a person? Do you think it changed you as a person?
Completely, like, not even just appreciating what I have more, it was the Providence one we went to, and it changed me as a person on my outlook to different religions, and not just believing what like the media tells you or what like your friends tell you, but it was in a Providence home, and these like nuns came from India and they stay in Zambia like forever now, and they take care of like children in Zambia that have been abandoned because they have disabilities or they have learning issues, and it was all just for the fact that these children needed help. So it kind of changed me in the way where no matter who it is, you should be like those nuns who gave up everything in their life to come over and just help people. And I think that in Scotland we don't have enough of that.
Very nice comment, that's very good. Do you think, Lewis, nowadays there is a certain trend amongst, I mean, hard to explain, there's a phenomenon out there that nowadays people are going abroad and a sort of altruistic CV booster sort of thing. In what way do you think the Missio trips are different from someone who's got a high dream of, I'm going to go and build an orphanage and I'm going to stick it in my CV and not care? How has it changed your view on that?
I think there was a couple of different elements of why our trip was a wee bit different. We were all very conscious of not wanting to for that image to be placed upon us, and we deliberately tried to go about the trip not in that way. So we would visit places, but it wasn't a big photo shoot. It wasn't about trying to get photos of us giving things. It was more about having conversations and discussions, and we were honest enough to say that this was about us trying to understand the experience. It wasn't us necessarily building walls, as you said, building schools. Because just because we come from a certain area of the world doesn't make us any more qualified to go there and build a wall, just as you were kind of talking about. I think that's something that we were very consciously trying to avoid.
That's great. And Chris, obviously the fruits of this are going to be numerous for St Mungo's as well. And is there any plans to go back again with St Mungo's, or is there other plans for yourself to go back with our people? Or
so I would need to speak to Mr Mann and get the organisation back down again. But yes, it's something we'd look to do, and I have spoke to a number of pupils, and so these guys are now in 6th year, the new 5th years, and they've said, "Oh, can we do something like this?" And we've not got the time to do that. But it is something that we'd look to do. But there has been, when we were talking about the rosary in the school, that's much better attended, and there seems to be a bit more emphasis on the Catholic ethos coming from these guys involved in Caritas, and they're bringing that out within the group in the school.
Fantastic. And Martin, obviously this is a big year for Missio, as I said earlier on. What are Missio hoping to get from this year, or to bring from this year from people?
Well, I think Missio, and we've spoke about going on a missionary experience, but the reality is we're all called to mission, and we might not get the opportunity to go to the missions. St Therese of Lisieux, as you said, is one of the patron saints of mission in Europe, despite having never been on missions herself. And what we really want to do is raise the profile of Missio and emphasise this reality that we're all called to our own mission, and that we can support the missions without necessarily going there ourselves. We're hoping with the relics of St Therese of Lisieux coming to Scotland later on this year, that we can be involved and work with you guys, and also the young people that we're working with in primary and secondary schools, in order to give young people an opportunity to reflect a wee bit more deeply on their own faith. We look at the history of the Catholic Church and faith in action in the world just now. The most inspiring thing in the Church is the lives of the saints. And when we're in doubt about different issues, or when we want to gain experiences, or when we want to gain insights, there's no more richer source than the history of the Catholic Church and the lives of the saints. So what Missio are trying to do this year, because it is Extraordinary Mission Month this year, as called by Pope Francis, the universal Church is reflecting on the role of the missions, and our role as Catholics in promoting the gospel across the world. And the thing about Missio is, there's many great organisations out there, but Missio is one of the only organisations that promotes and encourages the spreading of the faith, which is one of the reasons why we're limited in the avenues that we can use for promotion and things like that, because we train priests, we train religious sisters, we are unashamedly Catholic, and that's a great thing about our identity. But sometimes, unfortunately, people don't like that. It doesn't stop us doing what we do because it's the right thing to do. And I think that's really what we're talking about this year. We do what we do because it's the right thing. And we're all called to spread the gospel. We're all called in our baptism to be missionaries of the Church. And I think we really need to reflect on that. And Missio is looking to promote that in any way, shape or form that we can. But especially if people are watching this and they get a chance when the relics of St Therese of Lisieux are in their diocese, to go and visit the relics and to reflect on the life of this phenomenal little saint, but also to reflect on how they can help Missio as well. We're always open to volunteers, and it could be somebody could run one event a year for us. It could be something as simple as a raffle prize to help fund the mission overseas, or it could be a prayer group reflecting on the life of a saint to raise awareness at home about our role as missionaries as well. So really that's what Missio is looking to do this year, and as education officer I'll be working with the team at Missio to do that, and then work with my very many contacts in education to kind of help that happen. So it's an exciting year for us. It's an exciting year to really reflect on our role as missionaries within the global church.
Well, thank you very much for coming in today to have this church chat in the Sancta Studios in Moss End, and we're absolutely excited for this big year for missions, for the Relics Tour in Scotland, and we're very much certain that Missio and the good work and the great work that you all do will be a big part of it. So thanks for coming once again and giving your time.
Thank you for having us. Cheers.